Love is not just a word. It's not simply the act of being together, sharing a bed, or exchanging messages. Real love shows itself in the way someone treats you, respects you, and invests in the bond you share. When those things fade, when affection is replaced with indifference, you're not imagining it, you're witnessing the absence of love. So let's talk about the 10 signs your partner doesn't love you. When someone loves you, they carve out space for you in their life, not because it's convenient, not because they have nothing better to do, but because you matter to them. When that love begins to fade, one of the first things you'll notice is that you're no longer a priority. You slip from the center of their world to the edges, and eventually you find yourself competing with everything else for scraps of their time and attention. They'll say they're too busy, that they're overwhelmed, that it's just a phase. But if they can find time for friends, for work, for hobbies, for endless scrolling on their phone, yet somehow cannot find a moment for you, what they're really saying is that you are no longer important to them. Being deprioritized is not about the occasional missed call or the busy week at work. We all experience that. It's about a consistent pattern where you are always the afterthought. It's about realizing that when they plan their day, their week, their future, you don't feature in it. And what's worse, you start shrinking yourself to fit into whatever crumbs they offer, convincing yourself that it's enough, but deep down, it isn't. Love makes people show up. Even in the chaos of life, even when everything else is demanding, the person who truly loves you will fight to give you their time, because time is the most honest currency of love. When your partner no longer gives you theirs, when you feel like an option instead of a priority, it's not an oversight, it's a statement. And the sooner you see it for what it is, the sooner you can decide whether you're willing to live in the margins of someone's life or step into a place where you are genuinely valued. One of the clearest signals that love is slipping away is the silence that creeps into your conversations. In the beginning, words flowed easily. You shared stories, dreams, and silly thoughts without hesitation. But when love starts to wither, communication begins to feel heavy, almost like a chore. Suddenly, every exchange is short, mechanical, or rushed. The depth is gone. The laughter fades. You can feel the distance growing, not just in what is said, but in everything left unsaid. When someone loves you, they want to know you. They lean in, they ask questions, they listen, not just with their ears, but with their heart. But when they stop caring, the curiosity dies. They no longer ask how your day was. Not really. They no longer remember the little details you shared. And when you try to open up, their eyes glaze over, or they change the subject, as though your words are an interruption rather than an invitation. This kind of disconnection is devastating because relationships are built on communication. Words are the bridge that keeps two hearts connected. When that bridge collapses, you feel the emptiness in every interaction. You begin to question whether you're too demanding, whether you're asking for too much. But the truth is, wanting to be heard is not asking too much. It's the foundation of intimacy. When communication feels forced, when you are speaking but not being heard, it isn't just a bad habit. It's a reflection of where their heart is. And you deserve more than being treated like background noise in someone's life. Real love shows itself in the desire to connect, to listen, and to engage. If that desire is gone, then so is the bond that once held you together. Affection is the lifeblood of a relationship. It's not just about grand gestures or dramatic declarations. It's in the smallest touches, the way their hand finds yours without thinking, the way their eyes soften when they look at you, the way a kiss lingers just a little longer because they don't want to let go. When love is alive, affection flows naturally. It doesn't need to be forced. It doesn't need to be begged for. It's instinctive. But when that love begins to fade, affection is often the first casualty. You start to notice the absence in subtle ways. The hugs feel shorter. The kisses lose their warmth. The hand that once rested on your back now hangs by their side. Even their tone of voice shifts. Where once there was gentleness, there's now indifference or irritation. These changes are easy to dismiss at first. You tell yourself they're tired, stressed, distracted. But over time, you realize it isn't about external pressures. It's about the absence of desire, the withdrawal of care. Love makes people want to express themselves physically and emotionally. When affection is withheld, it leaves you feeling invisible, undesired, and unworthy. And the most painful part is how it makes you question yourself. Am I not attractive anymore? Did I do something wrong? But the truth is, a lack of affection says more about their feelings than it ever does about your worth. A partner who loves you will always find small ways to show it, no matter how busy or tired they are. And if those gestures have disappeared, it's not because you're asking too much. It's because the love that once inspired them has gone quiet, and that silence speaks volumes. When love is strong, it magnifies the best in you. Your partner notices your strengths, your little quirks, the things that make you unique, and they celebrate them. But when that love begins to fade, the focus shifts. Suddenly, the same qualities they once admired become points of irritation. The laughter that used to draw them in now annoys them. The habits they once found endearing are now treated like flaws. And instead of encouragement, you are met with constant criticism. Criticism in itself isn't always destructive. Constructive feedback can be an act of love, but there's a difference between someone who wants to build with you and someone who simply wants to tear you down. When every word feels sharp, when every interaction leaves you second-guessing yourself, it's no longer about growth. It's about erosion. They are chipping away at your confidence, piece by piece, until you start questioning your own value. This shift is painful because it feels personal. It makes you wonder if you've changed, if you've somehow become less lovable. But often, the truth is simpler. Their love has dimmed, and with it, the lens through which they see. Where love once softened their perspective, indifference now hardens it. A partner who loves you will still see your imperfections, but they'll hold them with patience and kindness. They won't weaponize your vulnerabilities against you. When criticism outweighs appreciation, when the balance tips so far that you can't even remember the last time they sincerely praised you, that's not love, it's detachment wearing the mask of superiority. And the danger is if you stay too long in that space, you may start believing their distorted reflection of you instead of the truth. You are worthy of love that uplifts, not love that diminishes. Every relationship will face conflict, disagreements, misunderstandings. Even arguments are not signs of failure. They are signs that two people are human with different needs and perspectives. What truly matters is how those conflicts are handled. When love is strong, both partners care enough to resolve the tension. They may stumble, they may clash, but underneath it all is the desire to repair and reconnect. Love makes people fight, not against each other, but for the relationship itself. When that love starts to fade, you'll notice a very different pattern. Conflicts no longer feel like opportunities to understand each other. Instead, they become dead ends. Your partner shrugs off your concerns, dismisses your feelings, or avoids the conversation altogether. You may pour your heart out, desperate to find common ground, but they respond with silence, sarcasm, or indifference. The message is clear. They no longer value the bond enough to fight for it. This indifference cuts deeper than anger ever could. Anger at least means they still care, but when someone stops showing effort in conflict resolution, it means they've already emotionally checked out, and in that silence, you're left carrying the entire weight of the relationship on your shoulders, trying to mend something that requires two people, not one. Love requires effort, especially when things are hard. If your partner refuses to engage, if they brush off your pain or refuse to meet you halfway, then the truth is simple, they've stopped protecting the relationship. And if they've stopped protecting it, you must ask yourself why you are still fighting alone, because love is never about one person dragging the other back to the table. It's about two people choosing again and again to meet there together. One of the most telling signs that love has slipped away is when your pain no longer matters to them. In a healthy relationship, your struggles are not yours alone. They are shared. Your tears are met with comfort, your worries with reassurance, your low moments with patience. Love makes another person's heart ache when you are hurting, but when that bond fades, your suffering becomes invisible, or worse, it becomes an inconvenience. You start to notice their responses shift. where once they leaned in to listen, now they roll their eyes or sigh as if your feelings are a burden, where once they offered comfort, now they tell you to get over it or simply ignore you altogether. That indifference is a form of abandonment, because love without empathy is no love at all. This indifference is not always loud. Sometimes it's subtle. The absent hand when you reach out for comfort, the blank stare when you share your worries, the way they change the subject when you reveal your fears. But no matter how quiet, the message is the same. Your pain no longer touches me. And that is perhaps one of the most devastating realizations, because intimacy is built on emotional safety. If your partner can watch you struggle without flinching, if they can witness your hurt without even attempting to soften it, then you are no longer connected in the way love demands. Love is not proven in the easy times, it's revealed in the hard ones. And when someone refuses to stand with you in your pain, they've already stepped away from the bond you thought you shared. Real love carries, comforts, and protects. Without that, what remains is not partnership. It is loneliness disguised as togetherness. When someone truly loves you, you become a part of their vision for the future, their plans, their dreams, their goals. They instinctively include you because they can't imagine walking forward without you by their side. You hear it in the way they talk about what's ahead. We'll do this when we go there, our next step. That language isn't just casual. It's a reflection of commitment, of a heart that sees you as permanent, not temporary. But when love fades, those words begin to change. Slowly, we becomes I. Future plans are spoken about as if you don't exist, as if your presence is uncertain. They talk about trips they want to take, ambitions they want to pursue, changes they want to make, and you're no longer part of the picture. Sometimes they don't even notice the shift themselves, but you do. You feel the absence, the sting of being excluded from the dreams you once shared. This exclusion is more than just thoughtlessness. It's a quiet declaration. I don't see you in my tomorrow. And that realization hurts, because love isn't only about the present moment. It's about building something together, about creating a shared life. Without that, what's left is a fragile connection that can't withstand time. It's natural for plans to evolve, but when you consistently find yourself erased from the vision of the future, it's a sign their heart is already pulling away. Love looks forward. Love makes space. And when that space no longer has your name on it, you're faced with a painful truth. You may still be walking beside them today, but in their mind, you're not walking beside them tomorrow. Love directs energy. When someone is truly invested in you, their time, attention, and effort naturally flow into the relationship. They want to share themselves with you, to build, to nurture, to strengthen the bond. But when that love begins to fade, you notice the current shifting elsewhere. Their focus, their passion, their energy, all of it gets poured into other areas of life, while you are left waiting on the sidelines, surviving on scraps of attention. It may start subtly. They spend longer hours at work, more time glued to their phone, more nights out with friends. Hobbies become excuses, distractions become priorities. And while none of these things are wrong in themselves, the pattern becomes impossible to ignore when you realize the one thing missing from their investment is you. You stop being the person they share their excitement with, the one they want to impress, the one they turn to first. This redirection of energy is more than neglect. It is emotional withdrawal. A partner who once poured their love into your shared life now feeds that energy elsewhere, leaving the relationship to wither. And the danger is, if you're not careful, you'll start blaming yourself. You'll think, if only I were more interesting, more fun, more desirable. But the truth is, love doesn't need to be begged for. Effort doesn't need to be chased. When someone wants to invest in you, they will. The harsh reality is simple. If their energy is no longer with you, it's because their heart no longer is either. And you cannot build a thriving relationship with someone who spends their best self everywhere else while leaving you with nothing but leftovers. When two people love each other, they protect the relationship. They defend it from neglect, from outside interference, and from anything that could weaken the bond. Love isn't just about passion. It's about stewardship. It's about guarding what you've built together because it matters. But when love fades, that protection disappears. The relationship stops being a priority to safeguard, and instead it becomes something easily exposed, left vulnerable, even disrespected. You'll notice it in the way they let boundaries slip. Maybe they allow others to speak poorly about you without stepping in. Maybe they entertain attention from outside the relationship that they once would have shut down immediately. Maybe they stop caring about the small courtesies that keep intimacy safe. Things like honesty, consistency, and discretion. Their lack of defense speaks volumes. The relationship is no longer something they see as worth preserving. This neglect cuts deep because it makes you feel unworthy of loyalty, as if you don't deserve to be defended or protected. And slowly you begin to realize that it's not just about outsiders or temptations, it's about their lack of care for the bond itself. They're no longer worried about losing you because in their heart they already have. True love builds walls around the relationship, not to shut the world out, but to preserve the trust within. When someone allows cracks to form, when they no longer guard what you share, it's a signal that their commitment has eroded. Love fights to keep connection intact. Indifference lets it crumble. And if you find yourself alone in that fight, carrying the burden of protection while they turn away, then you must ask whether you are holding on to something they've already abandoned. Deep down, you always know when love is gone. You might try to rationalize it, to explain it away with excuses, stress, busy schedules, bad moods. But in your gut, you feel the truth. The warmth that once wrapped around you is no longer there. The laughter that once came so easily has turned into silence. The eyes that once lit up when they saw you now look through you. And no matter how hard you try to deny it, you sense the absence. Intuition is powerful. It whispers before the mind is ready to accept what the heart already knows. You notice the small shifts, the hesitation in their touch, the disinterest in their words, the distance in their presence. These things add up, and together they paint a picture you can't ignore. That uneasy feeling in your chest isn't paranoia, it's recognition. It's your soul telling you that something essential has slipped away. The tragedy is that we often silence that voice. We convince ourselves that we're imagining things, that we're being too sensitive, but ignoring intuition only prolongs the inevitable, because love, when it's alive, is undeniable. It makes itself known in countless little ways, and when it's gone, that absence is just as undeniable. Listening to your gut doesn't mean giving up at the first challenge. It means respecting yourself enough to acknowledge when a relationship is no longer built on love. It means trusting that quiet inner truth instead of clinging to the fantasy of what once was. Because the most painful thing you can do is stay in a phase where your heart already knows you're unloved. Real love doesn't leave you guessing. Real love makes you feel chosen, secure, and seen. Anything less is a sign it's already over.